You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Now, let's continue with the players who are most likely to break out on defense. We've already gone over the players on offense. We already went over that. Now let's do defense. And I'm going to start off with a name who is, all right, maybe I'm kind of cheating. He's not really a breakout in my eyes or maybe to your eyes, but for the country, he could be a breakout player. That is Fadil Diggs. He is 6'5", 260 pounds, a defensive end, 4-star transfer from Texas A&M, one of the 60 best transfers in the country in 2024. So again, how could Fadil Diggs be a breakout candidate? Hasn't he already broken out? Isn't he already a really good player? Well, he's never made an all-conference team. He didn't make it in the SEC, and he was a really good player in the SEC. He was really good at Texas A&M. Did not make all-conference there. No matter where you go, it seems like every single list, including a video game, underrates him. So I'm going to consider him a breakout candidate because while I think he's a really good player, and I don't really think if he has a big year, it's that he broke out, in the eyes of the public, in the eyes of the country, besides maybe us in our Syracuse bubble, he's a breakout player, potentially, for this team. His career high is 4.5 sacks in a season. I think he can easily double that. I think he easily could. 8 sacks, maybe, for Fadil Diggs. Then you would really consider him a breakout player. But regardless, he's already really good. Already a candidate to be an all-conference player this upcoming year. But in the eyes of the country, he's really underrated. So, yeah, I'm going to cheat and say that he is a breakout candidate on defense because a lot of people will consider him a breakout if he has a big year, especially if he can raise that sack total to 7, 8, 9, dare I say even 10 sacks. So Fadil Diggs is my first breakout candidate. And for my second breakout candidate on defense, I'm really sorry, but I'm going to cheat again because I couldn't figure out one name to mention. So I'm going to give you 3 at a time here. Okay, one of these 3 names, Elijah Fuentes-Cundiff, Denis Jaquez, and Kevin Jobity. One of those 3 on the defensive line. I don't know which one. It's really difficult to predict it because we got to know who's going to actually play. Dion Wilson from New Mexico State, I believe, he's going to likely start. So you're looking at 2 of those 3 are going to, in all likelihood, start for this team next year. Which one of them is actually going to break out? The trio combined has 6 career starts at Syracuse. So while they are experienced, they've been with the program for a good bit. They haven't really started while with the Orange. And someone on that defensive line has got to break out along with Fadil Diggs. Fadil Diggs is really good. I think Dion Wilson's pretty good. Someone else has got to step up on that D-line. So I'm going to say that for a breakout candidate, it's one of those 3 defensive linemen. Elijah Fuentes-Cundiff, Denis Jaquez, or Kevin Jobity. And leave a comment below which one do you think is the most likely of those 3 players that I just mentioned. And so in case you're kind of not clear with what I'm doing here, I'm considering those 3 as one of them will be the second breakout on defense. So now let's go to the final breakout candidate I have on the defensive side of the ball for this team. Jayden Bellamy. He's kind of flying under the radar. He's 5'11", 175 pounds. He is a corner, a redshirt sophomore. Last season, he played in 12 games and started more than half of them. All right, so he has He has started before. Starting experience is what I was meaning to say there. He has recorded 29 tackles last year and a pick. That, I believe, was a pick 6 against Pitt last year. What leads me to believe that he could have a big year for Syracuse next year, there's always a reason why I'm picking these players. His Pro Football Focus grade was a 72.4, which is pretty solid. So I'm not saying he's going to be all ACC. But for Jayden Bellamy, if he's a starting corner for this team next season, another year older, he could break out. Could he be an all ACC? I'm not entirely sure, but it's possible that he breaks out because he was pretty good in limited action last year. So how does he translate that to a bigger workload? It's like in basketball, a player plays well for 20 minutes a night. How is that player going to do if you give him 30 minutes a night? That's kind of how I look at it with Jayden Bellamy. Last year, he made 7 starts in 12 games. How is he going to do if he starts all 12 of them? Because he was pretty good last year in a more limited workload. So can he translate that to a bigger workload? If he does, then he's a prime breakout candidate. Then he's in all likelihood going to be considered a breakout just because, well, he translated it into a bigger workload and is pretty good. So I like Jayden Bellamy as a possible breakout for this upcoming season. Once again, the 3 breakout candidates I have on the defensive side of the ball. Fadil Diggs. Yes, I know I'm cheating on Fadil Diggs because he is a really good player in his own right already, but in the eyes of the country, maybe not so much. One of Elijah Fuentes-Cundiff, Denis Jaquez, or Kevin Jobity. Someone has got to step up on that defensive line. And one of those 3 hopefully will break out. And then in the secondary, I got Jayden Bellamy, the corner, a redshirt sophomore who was good in a limited sample last year. Can he translate that to a bigger workload for this upcoming season? If he does, then he's a breakout. Essentially breaks out if he does that. So those are the most likely players I have on defense to break out. Once again, leave a comment in the comment section below. Who do you think is going to break out for Syracuse football on the defensive end of the ball? Are there any names that I'm leaving out? Am I nuts for thinking that, Elijah Fuentes-Cundiff, Denis Jaquez, Kevin Jobity, or Jayden Bellamy? Am I cheating too much on Fadil Diggs? Well, you can let me know in the comments section below on the defensive breakouts.